There are many Swiss GMT in the market at around $1,000, but none of them are actually a true traveler's GMT with a jumping local hour hand and a screw down crown, except for this one. So let's get right into it. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any reviews, head-to-head or quick time. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and come along with me on my watch collecting journey. This is a recent purchase and my second Swiss watch. I have been wearing it for around 2 months now, and I think it's fair to say that the honeymoon phase is over. So I can give this a fair review. But to be honest, there isn't much to hate about this watch, except for 2 things, which I'll get into later in this review. But if you're just looking for a quick take, the TLDR on this watch is, if you need a traveler's GMT with a screw down crown for your next vacation, just get it. And make sure to get the black and orange one because it pops. You are not gonna find a better deal. Let's start with the case. The case on this watch is rather simple, especially when you compare it to the Marine Master 300 I previously reviewed. But if we compare it to the Longines Hydro Conquest, it is slightly more complex. So the case design complexity sits somewhere in between those 2 watches. At first glance, this is a big watch, and that is all because of the huge dial surface coupled with the tiny lugs. The top of the lugs receives a fine vertical brushing, but the quality of the brushing is more similar to that found on the Tuna rather than the one found on the excellent Hydro Conquest. That is not to say it is not pleasing, just giving you guys a point of reference. The transition to the case side is interrupted by a nicely done polished bevel. This is to remove any sharp edges on the case. This is in complete contrast to the Hydro Conquest. The beveling runs along the length of the watch and can even be found on the crown guards. This gives the case a hint of sophistication and hides its dimension pretty well. The case side itself is fully brushed. By visual inspection, I would say the brushing here is finer than the one found on the top of the lugs. Transitioning to the case back is another well done bevel that runs along the edge of the watch. On the case back itself, we have a time zone map laser etched into a shiny case back. I guess if your phone runs out of juice and you need to know the time in another country, this could come in handy, maybe, but most of the time, it's just gonna be out of the way. Coming back to the crown and the crown guard, we have an organically protruding crown guard from the side of the case with an angular design. That is to say, it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb like the one we find on the Hydro Conquest. The crown guard does a nice job of engulfing the crown as it is screwed down. The crown itself is easy to grip and the operation is smooth. It also has the Mido logo etched into the high polished backdrop. Overall, the package is a well done design that doesn't stand out but does what it is intended to do. As for the crystal, this watch comes with an AR coated flat sapphire crystal that adds no complexity or sophistication to the watch, making it a bit sterile, but does also make it very easy to read from any angle. Thinking about it, I actually do understand why it doesn't have any sort of a dome, because if it was, the 24-hour markers around the chapter ring could be a massive pain to read. So good job here, Mido. Moving on to the dimension and the movement within this watch. This watch has a diameter of 44mm, lug width of 22mm, a thickness of 13.3mm, and a lug-to-lug of 50mm. It comes with a modified ETA movement built by ETA exclusively for Mido. Mido calls this their Mido GMT Caliber 80. It is based on the ETA C07661. This modification makes it so the local hour hand can be independently adjusted without stopping the timekeeping function. The movement comes with an 80-hour power reserve and beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It seems that Mido has seen a gap in the market where there are limited choices of automatic traveler's GMT watches at around $1,000, until Seiko followed suit and came out with their own Presage GMT. But those are plagued with the misalignment of the 24-hour markers. I would love to get my hands on a good example of those if possible to compare it to this Mido. So don't forget to subscribe and keep up to date with my channel to see that comparison. On to the dial. This is a very uniquely designed dial when it comes to GMT divers. Usually dive watches have a circular or oval hour markers. Instead, Mido chose to go the opposite and have a rectangular marker all around the dial, with the 12 and the 6 receiving double squares. Beyond the 12-hour markers, we see an even number scale for the 24-hour GMT time. This is done in orange to match the orange GMT hand. As for the handset, it is unique on this watch as well, with a semi-skeletonized stick-style handset. The hour and the minute hand has a dual finish that gives these hands a dynamic visual appeal. The hands start off thin and broaden out quickly to form a uniform shape. The midsection of the tip is filled with lume. The second hand is akin to a needle-style hand with lume-filled orange tip. The GMT hand is also semi-skeletonized with an arrowhead. It is orange to match the 24-hour markers and is always clearly visible against the semi-gloss but mostly matte black dial. The date disc is done in black with white printing to match the whole vibe of the watch and keeps the dial symmetry. All the printing on this watch is crisp and sharp. As for the bezel, it is easy to turn and read. There are hash marks until the 20th minute. The lume pip sits within a square marker, which unifies the design of the dial with the bezel and brings the whole watch together. However, the bezel is pretty loose and there is a whole lot of play. As for how it sounds, let's hear it. Let me know how you would describe that sound in the comment below. The lume is beautifully applied with no hotspots. It is also bright enough and lasts long enough for daily use and for your night out. There are, however, two negatives within this watch, both of which bugs me quite a lot. Let's go over the first one. When I turn the bezel, it spits out dust and dead skin, I believe, and I have never had this problem on any other watches before, not even a cheap Seiko. This leads me to worry about the durability of the bezel mechanism. If it can allow so much dust in, it could also one day clog up on you. The second negative is the misalignment of the GMT hand. It doesn't align with the 24-hour marker. Even though this can easily be fixed by a watchmaker, I'm not sure if this will be a permanent fix because the gears on this hand have a lot of slack and moves back and forth easily while time setting. So it could be a misalignment again in the future. Only time will tell. On the wrist, this watch wears smaller than the dimension might suggest. This is because of the reasonable lug-to-lug distance. I feel like Mido has taken the design philosophy of Seiko and applied it to this watch, wherein you have a large diameter watch but a reasonable lug-to-lug distance, making it wear comfortably on the wrist. The bracelet on this one feels similar to the one on the Hydro Conquest, but comes with a far superior clasp, which elevates the whole watch and the bracelet. The clasp is a double push release and comes with an on-the-fly extension. The extension is nicely integrated into the clasp, making it reasonably thin, unlike the one on the Marine Master 300, and much easier to operate. Another thing that elevates the whole bracelet of this watch is the polished bevel edge. To me, this signifies that Mido put some thought into the creation and the design of this bracelet. Overall, I believe this is the best Swiss Travelers GMT on the market right now. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a GMT watch with a screw-down crown that can be your daily wear or even your only wear. It is very hard to fault this watch. It feels like Mido will capitalize a lot of buyer with this watch, and hopefully we will be using it a lot as soon as we can travel freely again. Stay tuned for my next video and don't forget to like, subscribe and share this review with your friends. Follow me on Instagram and see you next time. Peace.